homes on, this is their property right here. And then we went in the neighborhood, and you can see where the yellow is. It took that amount of distance to get to 255 homes, so it's 10 times, the density. So this is 65 acres, and that's almost 600 acres, so it's about 10%.
KGIS.
Yes. So that's what we feel is just not consistent with what's in this area. This is a farming community. Yes, you know, up on Bays Mountain, there are homes that are up there closer together. But they're all on about 3/4 of an acre, each one of those. So, you know, what we think is appropriate is about 1 per acre. That's what's consistent with the area. When you start putting 3 and 4 and 5 houses per acre, you know, guess what? It's a tsunami of people to this small community. It really changes this from being a rural area to a great big subdivision. And the roads are really small. I encourage all of you guys, when you leave here today, take Sevierville Pike this way and see how small these roads are.
And maybe a show of hands, you guys live in this area. If you can get somewhere and not have to get on Chapman Highway, will you go that way?
Yes.
Not have to go Chapman Highway? So it'll be the same thing with the folks that live in this proposed subdivision. They're not gonna, a lot of hoopla has been made about the intersection improvement on Chapman Highway. We read the TDEC report that says that it's been done to decrease the number of crashes that are happening at that location. The folks who live in this proposed subdivision aren't gonna try to get on Chapman Highway if all possible. They're gonna take Henry Chapel.
Just like all the rest of us do.
They're gonna take Sevierville Pike, they're gonna take
Yeah.
numerous little roads that
Little
they're gonna
roads
take
back
in
there.
this area. And if you drive those roads, they are narrow, the shoulder drops off.
There's an S-curve where Connie lives. She's the one that spoke at the last meeting. You guys, it's dangerous. We're not exaggerating. I don't care what those engineers say. This is a dangerous road.
I will take any of you in my car, take you to my house, down my driveway, and then drive back out of my driveway so you can see what we're talking about. It's just right down the road.
Please, please, take the circle back this way and just drive it yourself. All asked though, just like everybody else. I don't want anything going less than 50, okay? That's your requirement. So, but there's something that's also really important, I think, and it's not really how I think the system really works. But for me and how I look at it, the best way to do is to look at things from a global perspective. So there's 2 developments have already been approved on the other side of Chapman. One is, I think, about 120 condominiums. And really, Margie and I drove over there just to kind of see if there was another way out of that property, and there isn't. They can only go onto Chapman Highway, and if they think they're gonna turn left there and go to Knoxville, they're crazy. It's a the turn lane ends right there. So that's 120 homes there. There's another thing off of, what's the name of that other street?
Highland View.
Highland View. There's another 165 homes there. You know, Thunder Mountain bought some other tracks, so they own this track here.
Wow.
That's the one that's up behind the church. This track is still across the street. This track is across the street. This is across Chapman Highway. They own the ballpark. They own from the ballpark all the way to White School. If they develop all of those with 4 per acre, and plus the other 2 across the way, you're looking at 2,000 new homes within a 3-mile radius of this. This is why we're in a panic. Everyone in this room is here fighting for their lives because these are their homes. Many people have lived here for many generations. You know, I talked to a couple of gals and their grandmother was Loveday and had this property. You know, Brad's family has been here for 90 years. Connie's family's been here, most all the families have been here, you guys, for many, many generations.
I live in my great grandmother's house.
Right. So this is a small community, it will really make a big impact, and having this kind of thing show up right across the street from, you know, a historic home, and it's gonna be in everybody's backyard, they can look right down on it. Had they left the trees there as the bumper, it wouldn't have been so bad for them, and it wouldn't have been so bad for us. But they just really needed to rip out all those trees, and they can, you know, it's their property, they get to. But this does not fit in our neighborhood, sorry, it just doesn't.
It doesn't fit next to an industrial park.
Yeah.
And it's not part of the zoning of the area.
Right,
Mhm.
and so there are several layers to that, and, you guys, the county commission are gonna understand the zoning and the planning, the growth plan. You haven't spent a lot of time talking about the growth plan, and I know because the law director's office has taken the position in the past that the growth plan has been expired or somehow been abandoned or is not effective. Well, we know at this very meeting last month, the law director's office did 180 degrees. Had a conversation apparently with the mayor's office, and now the county's gonna follow the growth plan. Well, the growth plan says that there are certain conditions that need to be met before properties change from rural or from agricultural sector plan designation to a low-density residential sector plan designation. And one of those conditions, prerequisite for doing that, is that the property needs to be zoned planned residential.
Right.
This property is zoned agriculture. So, my opinion, this is not appropriate for that reason alone. But when the developer bought this property, it was in a rural growth plan designation. It was in an agricultural sector plan designation, and it was in an agricultural zoning district. That was the understanding. And for those reasons, we think that this is not appropriate. They already own property. We showed you those tracts that they own. They already own property on Chapman Highway that has access to Chapman Highway that's in the correct sector plan designation. That could legally be rezoned. Why not work on that piece?
Yes.
Let the planning process through planning commission that's already underway to revise the sector plan. Let that process play out over the next several months, and let the developer come back for this. There's already property that they own that's available for this. Why throw the plan out the window when there's that available to them? I think if you throw the plan out the window, that's a plan for failure. And there's a lot of traffic and a lot of other adverse consequences that are gonna come.
I also,
That's a
sorry,
question. What's the history with the industrial zone? If this has always been a pristine and rural world, how in the world did somebody end up with a multi-acre industrial lot right in the middle of the, right in the middle of everything?
So it is, it's a sore thumb, it sticks out like a sore thumb, right? Well, so that was part of, the sort of Wild West that we had before we had a zoning ordinance. That has been there since before we had a zoning ordinance. You know, look at the first zoning map that Knox County ever produced. There is a small rectangle of industrial zone stuck there in the middle of the rural area of the county because Mr. Bauer developed that as a industrial park. And he could do that before we had a zoning ordinance.
So it's been there since 1919.
Yeah.
So it's the tent factory, right? That's it for the kids.
and he lived here, you know, and he also donated the land to the church. You know, he donated the land, you know, for their parking lots over at the church. I mean, he was,
Donated the ball field.
you know, he did the ball field, you know, so he was a big person in our community. And, you know, I mean, there really is a history to it. The other thing too that I wanna make really clear is, you know, they were originally wanted to just do across the street and they needed to get above, I don't know, 3 per acre. And they couldn't because there's hillside over there. So, you know, they did a timeout and they didn't go in front of the commission, you know, the planning commission for that part of it.